Hello and welcome back to the Guild of Un-Medicated Hijinks. Now I'm here today to kick off a new series, and it's called the George Carlin Book Club. Now, this is a preface to the actual series, and it's my way of explaining what the series is and what it's about without actually having to put this at the beginning of every single episode. As with pretty much everything else on this network of joy, now, this is going to be adult-themed, adult-related. It's going to have foul language. If that's not really what you're looking for, go look somewhere else. So, here it is. When I was young, like a young child, before I became an old child, I found a record. And for those of you who don't know, which is unfortunately most of the population at this point, records are an ancient form of recording sound on vinyl. They actually predate cassette tapes, which I know puts them like Stone Age, but no, they were real, and I'm old enough that there was one of these in my house when I was a child. There was actually a lot, but only one that I cared about. The one that I cared about was called Class Clown, and it was a George Carlin comedy album, and I can't say I necessarily wore this record out listening to it, but I can tell you that I shortened the hell out of its life. Ever since then, I have just been absolutely in awe and in love with the work of George Carlin. Everything he does, from his books, his video specials, his comedy albums, I think he's just an amazing person, and his death was a great loss to the entire world. But thankfully, he left behind a massive, massive body of work that we can all appreciate and refer to. Now, in this body of work, he left behind a list of books. And the point of this particular comedy bit was that these books were supposed to be free. Like, if you join now, you will get these books free. And what he was making fun of was the ridiculous uselessness of the books in question and the books that are given away with such things. If you give something away for free, odds are good it really isn't worth anything. But he decided to come up with some really colorful and ridiculous titles for his books. So I decided that, what I would really like is actually to read these books. Like, despite the ridiculousness of the concept of the titles, things like Apartment Hunting for Devil Worshippers, How to Fillet a Panda, How to Give a Pope a Really Hard Time, I always thought, these books, I really want to read them. So what I would like to do is give you not necessarily an actual reading of all these books, because that would take a lot more time than I'm going to prepare to do, but I wanted to give sort of an overview, a synopsis, an explanation of the chapters, and just a concept of what is actually in the books. And so just to make this clear, I am going to be building off the works of George Carlin, but I am not intending on plagiarizing or reusing any of his material. I just want to use it as a jumping off point for my own stuff. And for those of you listening, if you really like anything I'm doing here, this is the point where I'm supposed to say, like, subscribe to my channel or what have you, but really I'm going to say go find some George Carlin material. You can find a number of his specials on YouTube. You can find a number of his comedy specials, his interviews. He's just an amazing man who had some amazing thoughts. And he is one of the few people in the world that has not only expanded the base of knowledge I have, he actually expanded my way of thinking and my capability of thinking. Very few people have ever done that. The other people I can name who have done things like that were Plato and Socrates and Terry Pratchett. So I really, really want to make sure that everyone is very clear on this subject, that I am basing this off of George Carlin's work, and it is out of respect that I'm calling it the George Carlin Book Club. It is out of respect that I am basing this little bit of my work on his, because he is a man that I am seriously in awe of, and I know I will never reach his level, but I know he was easily one of the influences on my life and comedy. So, from now on, I'll be able to avoid all of this introduction, and feel free to skip this if you actually just really want to hear my weird thoughts. So, thanks for listening, and thanks for listening to the Guild of Un-Medicated Hijinks.